Someone asked me last week if they could ever have a glass of wine again after their Crohn's diagnosis. And I could actually hear the resignation in their voice, like they were asking permission to be normal. Here is what I told them. Hi, I'm Kate, and today we're talking about the truth about alcohol and Crohn's. Can you ever drink again? And what actually happens in your gut. Now this matters because you're caught between doctors who say, avoid alcohol, and Instagram accounts showing people with IBD at wine bars, and nobody's explaining the actual mechanism or how to make the decision based on your gut, not someone else's rules. My son asked me this exact question when he turned 18. He was in remission. His mates were going out, and he wanted to know if one beer would undo everything that we'd worked for. I understood that question in my bones because it wasn't really about the alcohol. It was about whether Crohn's was going to dictate every single choice for the rest of his life. And in my practice, I see this pattern constantly. People either swing to total abstinence out of fear, or they rebel against all the restrictions and drink like their gut doesn't matter. Now, neither extreme is helpful, and neither one is based on understanding what alcohol actually does in your digestive system. The truth is more nuanced than never again, or it's fine, and that nuance matters because informed decisions are always better than fear-based rules. Here's what most people get wrong. They think alcohol is either poison that triggers flares, or it's harmless, and the warnings are just doctors being overcautious. So what's the reality? Well, alcohol does affect your gut in specific measurable ways, but those effects vary wildly depending on your disease activity, your gut barrier integrity, what you're drinking, and how much. The real issue isn't, is alcohol allowed with Crohn's? The real issue is understanding the mechanism so you can assess your risk at this point in your disease journey. Because here's what I've seen. Someone in deep remission with healed mucosa might tolerate an occasional drink with minimal consequence. Someone with active inflammation or a compromised gut barrier, that same drink could genuinely set them back. It's not about permission, and it's not about rules. It's about understanding your gut's current state and making decisions that respect where you actually are, not where you wish you were, or not where fear tells you to stay forever. Let me walk you through what you actually need to know. Alcohol increases intestinal permeability. That's a technical term for what happens when your gut barrier becomes porous. In a healing gut, this is temporary and your body compensates. But when you have Crohn's, especially active Crohn's, your barrier is already compromised. More permeability means more bacterial products crossing into your bloodstream, which triggers immune activation. That's inflammation. That's exactly what you're trying to calm down. Alcohol also disrupts your microbiome. It reduces beneficial bacteria and allows opportunistic species to overgrow, and it directly irritates inflamed tissue. If you have active ulceration, alcohol on that tissue is like pouring spirits on an open wound. Your gut will react. Now, does this mean never drink again? No. But it does mean you need to know your current gut state before you make that choice. If you're in deep remission, confirmed by scopes or fecal calprotectin, not just, well, I feel okay, your gut lining has healed. Your barrier function is restored. Your inflammation markers are normal. In that state, an occasional drink is a different risk calculation. You're not pouring alcohol onto active inflammation. Your barrier can handle temporary permeability without triggering a cascade. But if you're in active disease, visible inflammation on scopes, elevated markers, symptoms present, alcohol is adding fuel to a fire that is already burning. Your barrier is already leaky. Your immune system is already activated. You're not in a position to absorb that additional hit. My son learned this the hard way. He tried a beer when he thought he was fine, but his calprotectin was still elevated. 2 days later, he had cramping and loose stools. Not a full-on flare, but enough to show his gut wasn't ready. This is why objective measures matter. You can't feel mucosal healing. You need data. And not all alcohol affects your gut the same way. So here's what matters. Clear spirits like vodka or gin are less irritating than beer or wine for most people. Beer contains gluten and fermentable carbs. Double trouble if you're sensitive. Wine has sulfites and histamines, and they can trigger reactions. If you're going to experiment, start with something simple and clear. 1 drink occasionally is a different physiological load than 3 drinks regularly. Binge drinking, even once, causes significant gut barrier disruption that can last for days. Regular, moderate drinking keeps your microbiome in a constant state of disruption. Alcohol on an empty stomach hits your gut lining directly and absorbs faster, spiking blood alcohol and gut irritation. Alcohol with food, especially food with fat and protein, slows absorption and provides some kind of a buffer. And here's something most people don't consider: your hydration status. Alcohol dehydrates you, and dehydration thickens your stool and slows motility. If you're already prone to constipation or strictures, that matters. Sometimes the question, can I drink, isn't really about alcohol. It's about whether you get to participate in normal social experiences without Crohn's being the center of attention. And I get that. I watched my husband navigate this for years. The work events, the family gatherings, the unspoken pressure to have a drink in your hand. Here's what helped him. He decided in advance, having a go to non-alcoholic option he actually enjoyed, and letting go of explaining himself to every single person who asked. Because the truth is, most people don't actually care what's in your glass. They care that you're present and engaged, and if someone does make it weird that you're not drinking, that's their discomfort, and it's not your problem. You don't owe anyone an explanation. I'm good with this, thanks, is a complete sentence. So here's the framework I use with my clients and what I discussed with my son. Know your current disease state. Get objective data, scopes, calprotectin, CRP, don't guess. Access and assess your current gut symptoms. Are you having any increased urgency, cramping, or stool changes? Even mild symptoms mean your gut is working hard. Don't add to that load. Consider your risk tolerance. If you're 3 months out from a severe flare and terrified of going back there, even low-risk drinking might not be worth the anxiety. If you're 2 years into stable remission and you want to toast at your best friend's wedding, well, that's a different calculation. Plan for observation. So if you do drink, pay attention for 48 to 72 hours afterwards. Track your stools, energy, and any gut symptoms. Your body will tell you if it was okay or not. This isn't about rules, it's about data, self-awareness, and honest risk assessment. So back to the person who asked me about wine, here's what I told them. You might be able to drink again. You might choose not to. But either way, the decision should come from understanding your gut and respecting where it is right now. Not from fear, not from rebellion, and not from comparing yourself to someone else's journey. My son drinks occasionally now. Maybe once a month, 1 or 2 drinks, always with food, always when he's confirmed he's stable, and sometimes he chooses not to, even when he could, because he's learned to listen to his body. That is not restriction, that's agency. That's knowing yourself well enough to make choices that support your health without letting disease make every decision for you. Now, if this helped you think about alcohol and Crohn's differently, share it with someone who's wrestling with this question. And if you want support making those kinds of decisions, the ones where there's no clear right answer, just your right answer, well, that's exactly what we work through in my coaching practice and in the Crohn's Method community. I'll see you in the next video, and have a beautiful day.